What can you do for $40? You can buy yourself a noise canceling headphones, you can buy yourself an SSD, you can even buy a motherboard, but it's a refurbished one. But it won't buy you is a gaming PC that can run Rise of the Tomb Raider at 1080p at the lowest settings. Introducing the Salvation Diamond PC. Cue the intro. What is going on? Diamond Rice here, coming at you with another gaming PC. Now, this gaming PC I found inside of Salvation Army, hence the name Salvation Diamond. Now, if you're wondering how much I paid for this, and I'm not joking you, this is $40. Now, this PC itself, the complete system minus a hard drive, $40. I'm surprised I even found it in the Salvation Army. Obviously, someone who the previous owner or maybe someone else just left it, just wanted to give it away. But all I saw were just a nice PC, a nice budget PC that you can run a bunch of good games on it. I think, in my personal opinion, when I first looked at it. Now, obviously, when it says here it's a CPU, it's not a CPU. But obviously, the cashier didn't want to believe me. It was a computer. Even the manager said it was a computer, but I don't know. She just wouldn't. She couldn't see it. But for $40, you cannot beat that price for a custom PC, especially almost like pretty much just add in another hard drive or actually add in SSD or a hard drive, and this thing can run like games, especially at 1080p lowest settings. 720p is probably what it is going to be currently, but this is what it looked like. This is legitimately how I found this PC. Now, this PC, how I found it was actually in the electronics section of the Salvation Army. What I didn't notice is it was on the ground, and I was looking down at it from the top. Now, what I noticed is what I saw was a fan mount at the top, and usually OEM cases don't usually have a front with a top-ended fan mount at that point. So I knew it had to be an aftermarket case. Then I realized I looked at the front of the case; it was an Antec 300 case. So I obviously took a look inside of it. From the very top of the fan mount, all I saw was the Corsair RAM. I saw the GeForce GTX 460 in it, and I knew I had to open this up. Popped up on the side panel. All I saw was a Corsair CX430 power supply in it. I was like, damn, this thing is golden. This is definitely a good PC for what it's worth already. And all I saw was that price tag at $40. I was like, I just had to pick this up. I just had to pick it up as is. And what I found about this PC is it definitely was a useful one. Obviously, you can see with the non-modular cables, but also it's Molex connected, just to connect the power card or connect power to the GPU. Now, the GPU, like I said, is an NVIDIA EVGA GeForce GTX 460. Now, this is the 1GB version of the card, and it pretty much needed 2 PCI power connections. So this person obviously hijacked the power supply from the Molex connection and then basically made another 6-pin power connection. So it's not very power efficient. The card is not very power efficient, and I'm pretty much that showed in the benchmarks, which I will show later on. Now, onto the specs of this build. The specs we have here is a Core i3 2100 CPU, a 8 gigs of RAM, of Corsair XMS3 RAM. Now, this RAM runs at 1333, but I'm pretty sure you can run at 1600 megahertz as well. It had like I said, GTX 460, a Corsair CX 430 watt power supply, and a gigabyte motherboard, a Z68 AP-33 revision 2.0 motherboard. Now, obviously, these specs could mean something to you as a PC builder. Others could mean nothing. It could mean nothing as well. But obviously, this meant just a good performance of a budget gaming PC. And I honestly, what I did with this thing, I did some benchmarks. I did the benchmarks. I did some testing with it. I tried to play some games on it. And then after that, I just sold all these parts. And as you see on screen, this is what I paid for these parts. Now, obviously, I was basing it off eBay prices, and I went from there. So, I mean, I think I could have gotten more by the motherboard, but to be completely honest, it doesn't really matter. I would have made a profit regardless of whatever I did with these PC parts, and it's ridiculous how much I profited just from paying $40 for this PC itself. So let's see what basically went on with this components. I mean, I cleaned it up. I tried to do some things with it. I cleaned it up, cleaned out the dust, cleaned out all of it, and then just a couple other shots. So basically what I did is I basically ran some benchmarks. Now the benchmarks, I probably could have run this many different ways, but I started off with the synthetic benchmarks on 3D Mark. So Skydiver runs, I think honestly relatively well for this card. 20% better than all the results. Luckily, it's a nice score. The graphics probably would be a bit lower, but for what it's worth, it's definitely still a good score of it. Obviously, then I ran Firestrike, or I tried to run Firestrike, and well, 2,000 points. I mean, you can't really felt it because it is a hard it is a hard score, but hey, it's a good budget gaming PC for what it's worth. I honestly like this one. You know, you could do many different things with this, but the one thing I noticed is, especially in the thing, I tried doing the Steam VR testing. Obviously, that's not gonna work because of the graphics card, but hey, at least the OS is fine. The CPU still is VR ready. So that's going to be very nice, but you'll be running it all in low settings, if anything. Then again, I tried again, another benchmark. I did Dirt 3 at 1080p. This is at medium settings, minimum 60 FPS, and average of 78 frames. I mean, you can't say anything about that. It's a really good for what it is. Obviously, 60 FPS is nice, at least for me as a PC gamer. But also tried Rocket League. I had to go on. I couldn't run the benchmarks on this for some apparent reason because there was no actual benchmark. But I tried the game. It works. Not albeit at the highest settings. I put it at least maybe medium to low settings, and it does actually do work, but I obviously couldn't have a chance to play it, but it's okay. Now, the one thing that did surprise me was when I ran the Rise of the Tomb Raider benchmark. So this benchmark you're seeing, this is at 1080p at the highest, at the high settings. Overall, at 20, almost 21 frames per second, an average is honestly, I think, is a very respectable score. You can see in the GPU MSI Afterburner review tuner, whatever you call it, the stats. You can actually see that I'm only using almost about 6 gigs of RAM. The GPU is actually at 100% usage. So I mean, it's good. I thought it was a good thing. What did surprise me is at 1080p at the lowest settings, actually, oops, wrong screen. You can actually see that it actually reached over the 30 FPS, you know, but that little mark that many people would like. You know, it's average. I like it. You mean it's technically you could run this at Rise of the Tomb Raider at this PC at this settings. Lowest settings definitely would be useful for you for. For at least it's for me, it's for a benchmarking sense, but you could obviously see the use of this PC. Now, what would I do with this PC if, let's say, I actually did keep the PC? Honestly, just change out the graphics card and you have to maybe an RX 470, 460, a GTX 1050 Ti or a 1060, and this thing can run pretty much, they can run anything. I wouldn't say let's put it this way. You can run Rise of the Tomb Raider at, let's say, medium settings at 1080p, probably 60 frames per second or more. Let's put it that way. This i3 is still very popular and is very useful still. This Sandy Bridge architecture is very, very powerful, even to these days standards, especially with its hyper-threading. It's not going to be the same as a quad-core chip, and it won't be anything, especially like my chip, which is basically a quad-core with hyper-threading. So, but you know, this is still very useful. It's going to be a very good set of benchmarks. It'll be a good sense of people. The one thing I did try, and honestly I failed at trying, was Fallout 4. Obviously, with this card running at at the 100% usage, yeah, you're probably ended up just going to upgrade the GPU. So honestly, literally, you just upgrade this GPU and you have a nice gaming PC. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be it will be a good one. It will be a good set of benchmarks for people. It would be a nice budget gaming PC. So, hope to see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this Salvation Diamond PC. This is very interesting how I found this PC, but I've been trying to go through other Salvation Army stores and other thrift shops and all the things, but I cannot find a single PC pretty much same thing like this. I always find something worse of it right now, so I guess it was just the luck of the draw. It's just right there at the right time, honestly. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one. Later.